Welcome back, guys. And again, this vid is going to be me rambling and gushing about an anime that I really loved and appreciated for what it was. I'm not gonna lie, this was probably the cutest anime I've seen ever in my life, and the overall story, concept, and message is well written and very well put together in my opinion. Be forewarned, it's not a very action-packed shonen anime, and that's because it's a shoujo anime. Now, despite shoujo being in my YouTube name, understand that I'm not a huge fan of shoujo stories, but from time to time, when I watch or read some, there's a rare chance that I'll like a few, and this, my friends, is a gem. Let's just get this started already. Ore Monogatari's opening is probably the cutest means of shoujo-esque bullshit that you could ever see, mixed in with imagery that would be slightly funny and bring you to assume both the best and worst of the series like I did. However, over time, when the series proved me wrong by its story, the opening and show overall grew on me, to a point that every time there was a new episode, I would look forward to listening to the opening and seeing where that episode would eventually go. I especially like how over time, the opening would slightly change, basically being the cake at the very end, symbolizing a very cute but simple message that the story highlights overall. The opening is called Mirai K Answer, which is a beautiful little song that is pretty catchy given you allow yourself to listen to it a few times. The animation for it is perfect, and the atmosphere the animation provides gives you a lighthearted and feel-good vibe of the show and what it's all about. Honestly, despite most of the anime openings I love, this would be one of the few I feel is very cute and pleasant to listen to. Granted, some might still think it's overwhelmingly girly, but whatever, ain't nothing wrong with that. Still, with that said, the story of Ore Monogatari is a simple one. It went against the assumptions I originally had due to the show's opening alone. Now, at first, I thought it was going to be some overly cute story about some dopey girl who doesn't even know why she's in love with a dopey looking guy, and as they get to know each other, they go on equally dopey school life adventures, but my assumptions, surprisingly enough, with these types of animes were amazingly wrong. The story is about a guy named Takeo Goda, who wants to live a life of a simple man. He wants to go to school, finish his studies, and have a cute girlfriend who loves him and someone he could take care of. The problem, however, is the fact that Takeo doesn't look like most average guys. He's very tall, and his appearance isn't all that attractive, so it's hard for him to get close to most people, especially girls. He has a childhood friend at his side who always has his back, and a few guys from school who admire him from the various athletic clubs he's a part of. But other than that, Takeo just leads his life simply, going about things day by day in the hopes that one day he would in fact get a girlfriend to take good care of or do some good in his day-by-day living. Eventually, after the experience of being indirectly rejected by a girl of whom he thought was nice and who he liked for a long time, Takeo takes a train ride home and is fated to meet a girl named Rinko Yamato who is being sexually assaulted on a train. With no hesitation, Takeo steps in order to help her, and thus the adorably cute story of Ore Monogatari begins. This story is like probably my only favorite shoujo stories ever, with the best characters ever. It never highlights the stupid tropes most, if not all, shoujo stories harp on and bring you to cringe at the repetitiveness of it all. No, with these characters, they're just simply great. With most shoujo stories, you have characters that love getting their heart broken and love crying about it, and the cycle tends to repeat as soon as enough tears are shed, and usually they're shed for the stupidest of reasons, if not superficial. Whereas in here, if there are any tears shed, it's due to personal matters of which we can all relate to. The story is cute, as I said, but it has a certain execution about it that, depending on the scenario or situation, can either be really funny or be serious enough to make you think or make your heart ache a bit, making the characters more realistic and figures we can appreciate in the story. Speaking of which, the characters of the story are so simple it hurts, but not in a bad way. These characters are done and written simply to the point that it's pretty surprising to see how good a story can be written without making things, situations, or characters be so over the top to its genre. Takeo, for starters, as I said, is a simple high school guy who only wants the simple things in life, nothing more and nothing less. He's a straightforward character with a heart of gold that only wants the best for the people around him, even if it means they'd be taken back by his appearance, and not want his help in the first place. For me, I love characters like this, especially since in the anime, it's showing that there's not much to Takeo. He's simply a nice guy that doesn't ask for much but wants good for all around him, even if that means no good can come to himself. Like, I'm sure there's a point in the show where he's fine letting the girl of his dreams hang out with him and his best friend because he thinks that the girl likes his best friend, and naturally anyone would encourage a character like Takeo's to fight for the person he likes, but he provides thoughts and perspectives that would bring you to agree with his own decisions and mindset, and at least be fine with his decision. That being believing the girl of his dreams is using him, and it's an alright thing because so long as she gets close to his best friend, and if they fall in love, then he's done some good in the world for the day, and that's enough, simply because he brought those two together. They could have been soulmates, basically. A lot of people would think that those types of thoughts are beta male bullshit thoughts. But when you see his character and know and understand that he's far from that, you just respect his choices and his mindset more. There's not a selfish aspect to this guy, and because he's so honest, humble, and honestly self-sacrificing, it makes him so likable, at least to me. There's also Rinko Yamato, who I can't really say is your typical sweet shoujo girl in a series, but she is, if we're calling a spade a spade. She's that girl in the series where everything she does is out of love, and witnessing most of her sweet actions along with the mere image of her will melt your heart as heat would sugar. She's a very delicate woman who, just like Takeo, wants the simple things in life, and being with Takeo is simply the start of the cuteness that is their story. Another character to also mention is Tsunakawa Makoto, who at this point is one of the 4 of my favorite Makotos in all of anime. Very simple, and if in fact purposely bland, there isn't much to Makoto's character except for the fact that he's an amazingly good friend. Granted, the guy doesn't have much screen time throughout the series as one would think after Takeo and Yamato meet. The moments you get from him would make you realize and wish that you had more friends like him in real life. He's a keep-to-himself kind of guy, but when the anime reveals flashbacks of his thoughts, you'll often wish people like him existed, as he is a straight-up loyal, honest, smart, and sweet friend when it comes to understanding Takeo and even others. Like, honestly, other than Takeo and Yamato, Makoto he's a minor character, but he doesn't fall into the background, because you'll literally like his character the most for the subtle and slightest things that he does to help the couple in the beginning of the story. The animation and style for the story is smooth and yet crazy definitive, as most of the characters you do see look drastically different from one another, which is something that I appreciate when it comes to character designing and art in general. People's proportions and figures are different, especially when it's shown side by side to Takeo's, but that's just another thing to appreciate. The settings and scenery are also very pretty, but it doesn't take away from the art overall, as it's mostly focused on characters and hell, even cute food. When it comes to animation, I always go for style with edginess attached, Outlaw Stars art style, and maybe even Yu Yu Hakusho's, and throw in a bit of Hellsing's here and there. It's something that I just like, but when the art is cute and simple as this, you kind of grasp a different understanding and appreciation for the word simple. It's never bad, just good if it's something you're into. I gotta say, when I first saw the art style of this, I immediately thought it would be too cute for me. It wouldn't be my cup of tea, bars, but overall it just grew on me, and I appreciated it for how simple it was. It didn't try to be overly cute. It was just an anime that happened to be a little hyper bright and just have some cute aspects thrown into it. The ending song for the series is very loungy, something you'd hear if you sat back in a Japanese cafe for sure. If you don't know what I mean, you'd get it if you heard the song. The vibe is definitely there. When it comes to endings, I'm into things that are more lively, but I definitely appreciate the relaxed route certain productions choose to go down when they put this stuff together. The song definitely makes you think for sure if you allow it, but overall, it's not a great ending for me. Either way, at the end of the day, Ore Monogatari is one of my favorite shoujo animes. The animation is decent and pretty enough to sit around and watch, and the story is engaging enough without it being so tropey and leaving a generally bad shoujo-esque taste in your mouth, especially if shoujo romance animes aren't your thing, which honestly, if you knew me, you'd know these types of animes aren't. More often than not, the romance in shoujo animes or stories in general tend to be superficial, forced, and or are impossible to achieve, whereas in this story it's realistic and it gives you hope that you'd find someone who really loves and appreciates you someday, even if they are way out of your league. Everyone, boy, girl, and or anything in between or beyond can put themselves in Takeyo's shoes. We all might have had a bit of self-confidence, or we might not have. We all might have had friends that are there for us, and some of us might not. Regardless, when watching the story, you can definitely see the appeal of Takeyo's character and relate to him on some level without feeling any level of disconnect, especially with the minor characters that he interacts with, or simply view Takeo from a minor character's point of view. More importantly, I feel the story teaches you not to be superficial, which I can really appreciate. I mean, considering animes and mangas or comic books are on a platform that can be seen by millions of young and impressionable people, the story can ultimately give you hope, whether it's for yourself or for others. Takeo is a character who has huge lips, beady eyes, is tall and stocky for his age, and has a very shocking and intimidating presence to most. In any world, he's the type of character with features that most wouldn't find attractive. But despite that, when he does and achieves great things and gives simple reasons as to why, that exposes his good nature, you tend to want that for yourself, which I believe would lead people to either be like that or want people like that in their lives. Another thing I also love about this story and stories like it, that being Angel Densetsu, is the main characters are looked upon as being butt-fucking ugly. But rather than show them crying about it, moping about it, or being spiteful about it, they simply move on in life and get whatever they want done. I understand that not everybody has this type of attitude, but I'd like to think that with stories like this, these characters let people know that superficial stuff like that can't be helped. All you can do is take care of yourself, work hard, and hope that people appreciate you for the things that you do, and hopefully someone specifically loves you for that despite how you look. Manga, anime, and stories with a message. Ore Monogatari made something within me ring with self-assurance, because despite what most media portrays about love and romance and it being important or whatever, Takeo takes it in stride. Yeah, he wishes for it in the beginning, as would anyone, but his attitude toward assuming love would never be coming his way is something you have to respect and hope others replicate in attitude and nature. You can't force someone to love you. You can't change people's mind to make them love you. You can't be someone you're not in order for someone to love you either. If you're yourself and you're lucky enough to find someone who appreciates you, then you're blessed. If you don't find it, you simply don't. But you keep looking forward and work hard and go about your life. It's as simple as that. It's a subtle message within the story and from Takeo's character that I feel can make you a better person and bring one to comfort themselves. We live in a superficial world that makes you believe that finding a hot girlfriend or boyfriend for school or work, or just finding someone to be your partner when you're bored for the moment is something we all have to do in order to be happy, when it really isn't. And it isn't the end of the world when you don't find someone in the first place. Once you take things in stride and don't harbor over it, you start to understand more. At least that's what I got out of the series, which is why I like it so much. I also like the live action version of it, as it's very cute, and the actors did so well in making it something believable. Well, some of them. Still, gotta love Japan for their live adaptations of comics and cartoons. It's something America still hasn't been able to replicate that well. And this is me speaking of like the anime perspective. I fucking love Iron Man. Anyway, that's about it for this story. If you're looking for an anime, or hell at this point a live-action adaptation that highlights subjects about superficial and real love, relationships, personal and interpersonal, self-worth, and experiences of first love through the eyes of a rather simple character, his loyal friend, and a sweet girl, and hell, maybe what the acts of good karma can grant you, give Ore Monogatari a watch. I'm sure you'll like it. With that said, I gotta go work on more stuff. Take care, guys.